Good evening, and welcome to Facts and Issues. I'm Marie Curtis for the League of Women Voters, and with me this evening is Peggy Dellinger, who is a fellow League member, we have to confess, and we were going to discuss the latest display at the Township of Ocean Museum. But being typical League members, first we have to talk about those important events coming up, the elections.
And since this is a particularly complicated voting season, election season, I thought we might take advantage of Marie's expertise to kind of sort through when the polling days, when the elections are being held, what offices are up for election, the ballot questions, the special election, all those kinds of complicated things this season.
So, we do have two big elections coming up. October 16th is the first one, and that is to elect a senator to replace Senator Frank Lautenberg, who passed away.
Right.
Now, this election is unusual in that it's the only election I can remember being held on a Wednesday.
I know, that makes it even more complicated.
Yes, yes. So please be aware, you may know that the election is coming up that week in October, but it's not a Tuesday this time, it's a Wednesday.
Right, and the deadline to apply for a ballot by mail is October 9th for that election.
Yeah, but you have to have your application for a mail-in ballot into the Board of Elections 1 week before the election in every election cycle.
And unlike the old days, you do not have to give a reason why you're requesting a mail-in ballot. You can just choose to mail in your ballot, so that's available to anybody.
And I even brought one of the applications with me just to show everyone. It's a very simple form. Just you're applying your name and address and where you want the mail-in ballot sent. But you have an option. You may mark that you wish to receive mail-in ballots for all elections held during that particular year, or you can ask for a mail-in ballot to be sent every November general election. So there are two options in addition to getting a mail-in ballot this one time, which makes life a little simpler for shut-ins and people who have difficulty getting around.
As a matter of fact, I had lunch with a friend today, and she explained to me that she has done just that, and she's well and healthy and reasonably young, but travels a great deal. So it was just simpler for her to just take care of it that way, and that's the way she'll vote. And I need to point out as well that you can apply as late as October 15th in person to get to apply for your mail-in ballot.
But you have to pick that up by 3 o'clock in Freehold.
Right.
So that's the 16th. That's the first of the elections. The next one is traditional, Tuesday, November 5th. And this year we are electing a governor and a complete legislature, Senate and Assembly.
For the state.
And we are electing freeholders and sheriff.
And sheriff, right.
So,
and in addition to that, in recent years, we've added our local Board of Election. And that's particularly interesting in
Board of
Ocean
Education.
Township. Board of Education, I'm sorry. And that's particularly interesting in Ocean Township this year because we have 3 vacancies for the Board of Education and 2 candidates. So Marie, what happens in a case like this?
well, in a case like that, we look for write-ins. And if one individual gets the most write-in votes, they're automatically elected. If there's a tie or no write-ins at all.
Or the write-in candidate is ineligible for some reason or unwilling to serve.
Yeah. Then it goes to the Board of Education in their normal procedure to fill a vacancy. So this will be interesting to see how this works out.
Very interesting.
Yes.
Very interesting. And the deadlines there, the voter registration deadline is October 15th, right around the corner. Your deadline for applying by mail for a mail-in ballot is October 29th. And your deadline for applying in person for a mail-in ballot is November 4th, 3 o'clock.
And we should mention that mail-in deadline is the date that it has to be in freehold, not the date that it's postmarked.
Okay, important to know.
Yeah, yeah, because I think when you give people a deadline, they sometimes believe that a postmark makes it okay.
Like for your income tax. It
Right,
doesn't
yeah.
work that way.
No, no, not this one. This one, it has to be in the mail so that it's received in freehold 1 week before.
Okay, one more thing to test your expertise. In addition to the offices that we're filling in the general election, there are 2 ballot issues. And it might be helpful to just explain what they are and give a little bit of background on them.
Okay. The first ballot question, I believe, is the one
Constitutional amendment to permit money from existing games of chance to support veterans organizations.
Yes, that is a change. In the past, senior citizens have been the only ones exempt and able to use the money that way.
Right, the way that it works is that you need special permission to run any kind of game of chance.
Yes.
Which, for example, in the case of our little local museum, even our quilt raffle requires the permit, and the way that you use the monies that are raised by any game of chance for any organization are restricted. They cannot be used to support your own organization, they're used for the public good, for education and such. And there was already an existing exemption for senior citizens organizations, and this constitutional amendment will extend that exemption to veterans organizations so that they're able to use the money raised to support their own organization, to pay utility bills or postage and things like that.
Yeah, this all goes back to when we first began with casino gambling way back in the 70s, and it was decided that any monies raised from any kind of gambling in the state of New Jersey should be for educational purposes only.
Right, right.
So,
So it has really had repercussions for
yeah.
Right, hundreds and hundreds of organizations.
That's right.
Okay, and the second ballot question is a constitutional amendment to set a state minimum wage with an annual cost of living increase.
Yeah, that would raise the minimum wage in New Jersey by a little more than $1 an hour, and it would give an automatic cost of living increase to
Right.
that minimum every year.
And it would put the minimum wage level in the Constitution, which it currently is not, correct?
Right.
Right, so
right.
you're not only voting for the increase and for the increases pegged to the cost of living, but the ballot question is asking you to put that whole issue into the New Jersey Constitution. And there are pros and cons, and the League of Women Voters has very helpful, easy-to-read information on it, both our local website, which is lwvto.org, and the state League of Women Voters website. And the ballot issue is explained, the background is explained, and without taking a position pro or con, it gives you the pros and cons of both of those 2 ballot issues.
And, you know, it may seem simple when you look at it,
Didn't
but
seem simple to me.
No, but there are a lot of pros and cons on
Yes.
both of these
And
issues.
strong arguments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we just hope that all of you people out there take the time and just a little bit of effort to make yourself familiar with what the issues are and what these ballot questions might mean for you.
And the League of Women Voters is the place to go for nonpartisan, meaning we never support a candidate or a political party, although we certainly take positions that we've studied on issues, never a candidate or a party. So you get unbiased and well-informed information on any election issue, including a toll-free number to call.
Mhm. And we have a crew that is working on election day at our state offices, and they get a lot of calls
Yes.
on election day.
It's complicated. I mean, just the short conversation that we've had shows how many dates there are to remember, how many issues there are to remember, how many candidates to familiarize yourself with. It's a lot if you take voting seriously, and we certainly hope you do.
And the November election especially is going to be a very crowded ballot. Everybody knows that there are 2 major political party candidates for governor, but there are, in addition, 6 other candidates for governor in the state of New Jersey. And I think sometimes people go into the voting booth and they're somewhat floored by the
Disoriented by the
Yeah,
number of
yeah,
choices.
the number of names and offices and questions, and it can be daunting.
Yes.
But don't let it daunt you, folks. Get out and vote.
And what happens if somebody shows up and at the polls and is told that they're not registered? What should they do? And they think they are, of course.
They think they're registered. That's very simple to handle these days. It's a provisional ballot. And the person is told to just sit down, and they fill out a little form, which is detachable. And they fill out a ballot, a printed ballot. They put it in an envelope, seal the envelope. Nobody knows what's in the envelope. That's their vote. But the detachment on the envelope will be looked at by the Board of Elections, and if that person indeed is registered and just had their name somehow slipped from the book, that vote will be opened
They
and
open
counted.
the envelope. Mhm.
They open the envelope. If by any chance it wasn't, they aren't registered, they will be notified, and that vote doesn't count
Okay.
this election. So,
No notification means your vote
Right.
was counted. Notification, they'll explain to you that you
Yeah.
were not registered. And
Yeah.
how does a person know where to go to vote?
you should get a sample ballot in the mail 10 days to a week before the election. And on the front of the sample ballot, it tells you what district you're in and where you go to vote. And you'd be amazed at how many people do not look at the sample ballot and figure out where they're supposed to go to vote. I work at the polls on election day and have had the experience repeatedly of people coming in and saying, I don't know what district I'm in, I don't know where I'm supposed to vote, I used to vote so-and-so,
Right.
and so, do you have a sample ballot? Yeah, okay, and then you show them, right here it says, you're in this district and this is where you go.
And since both where you go to vote and what district you're in are subject to change,
Oh, yeah,
it's a good thing to check it out even if you think you know where you're going.
that's true, very true. So we hope to have a good voter turnout, both in October and in November.
I hope so.
All righty.